Good evening, Jimmy.
Well, good evening to you, Les.
Good to have you here tonight. A beautiful day today, wasn't it?
Oh, it
A lot different than last week Thursday night when we were here.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice and warm, and this weekend's supposed to by Tuesday. They're talking about 43 on Tuesday.
Oh, won't that be nice? Get out and walk again?
Yes,
and ride
wonderful.
bike.
Yeah, yes. If you get air in your tires. Okay, so welcome everybody to Encounter Hope tonight, and as always, Jimmy and I are so glad you're here tonight, and we're going to be talking about respect and honor tonight in our sermon later on. But first of all, Jim, we're going to go to our wonderful welcoming song.
Let's do that, Les. Here we go, everybody.
Let us build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live. A place where saints and children tell our hearts learn to forgive. Built of hopes and dreams and visions, rock of faith and vault of grace. Here the love of Christ shall end divisions. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place.
God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
God is certainly good to us. And Jim, we had some awesome things happening this past week at Hope Lutheran Church.
Wonderful.
And one of them was we got one of Cedric's dreams taken care of. I know the picture is a little dark, okay? But that is Cedric, okay? And they're okay. And this is the new desk that we were able to purchase for him. And they call it a study desk. Nice big study desk and a lamp, and it's hard to see, but he's got a nice office chair. And so this week we made enough money from our sub sale that we were able to send them that money, and they went to the store. Okay, this is a little bit better picture of the desk. And this was one night at 11 o'clock our time. Cedric texts me and he says, "Les, I have a lot of homework to do before I go to bed tonight." And this was his homework. And Cedric,
Look at all the books.
I know. He's going into banking. Business and banking.
Wow.
And the city that they live in, Akara, which is a huge city, it's over 1 million people, that's what they're noted for. And when I was there, there's beautiful, huge bank buildings all over, but Akara is noted for their banking, so it's a wonderful field that Cedric wants to get into. And this I had to show, look at the smile on that kid's face, okay? And first day they got the desk, okay, and he said, "Les, my feet fit under the desk." That's what his reply was, "My feet fit under the desk," okay, when they set it up in the apartment. And then this is a picture of the boys, and this is when they're at the store, and they told me how, they took the Uber. Of course, they took the Uber to the store, and then to get the desk and the lamp and the chair home, they rented a tricycle. And I did this when I was in the Philippines, and a tricycle is a motorcycle with a sidecar. And then they put the desk and the lamp and the chair in the sidecar, and then they followed that sidecar, the tricycle followed the Uber back to the apartment. Okay, and that's how they got the stuff in the apartment. But this is the boys when they went shopping that morning to get the stuff. So a wonderful day. Again, we have this new thing at our church here. It's awesome. It's called the Ghana Mission. And if anybody would like to help donate towards the boys, we're getting close to the computer. Okay, we got some money left from the subs and some more people donated. But we still could use a little help yet. If anybody's interested, they can send some donations into the Ghana Mission here at church. You can get credit for it in your offering at the end of the year. But we have a wonderful account set up here at church, okay? Good. And then Sunday coming up pretty quick. In fact, not this Sunday, but next Sunday it is, okay? February 28th. We're talking about a big food drive. And I know after today also, I'm going to have some boxes on a table set up in the gathering area. And in case people can't come on that Sunday, they can start to bring food in now and put it in the boxes in the gathering area. Okay, we'll have that set up for them. But again, they were asking for vegetables, but we'll take anything that you want to bring, non-perishable food. And the kids are going to come out to your car. You'll drive up to door number 8, like we did the sub sandwiches. We'll take the stuff out of your car, and then the kids will help separate a little bit, and I'll get it over to the Feed My People, okay, that week. So save up your Save up your canned goods, Jimmy, for that week, okay?
You got it.
Okay, and then next week, Jim, next week, Thursday, I got the right date, February 25th.
Proud of you.
Okay, yes, we're going to be talking about thou shalt not kill. Now, you think that's like, when I get mad at you and I want to stab you. No, it's not like that at all, Jim. It's not when we get, in that situation here at Encounter Hope. It is.
No.
You can be killing someone's time. You can kill someone's dream. There's a lot of different ways you can kill. So we're going to be talking about the 5th commandment next week, Thursday night at 6:30. Okay? Super. Okay. So tonight, I want to start with a little story I want to share about, okay? And there was a police officer, and he pulls over a man for speeding, and he asked to see his driver's license. Well, calmly, the driver responded, I don't have one. I had it suspended when I got my DUI. Then the officer says, may I see your registration? Driver says, no, it's not my car. I stole it. Officer says, the car is stolen? The driver says, yeah, but now that you mention it, I think I did see the registration in a glove box when I was putting my gun in there. There's a gun in the glove box? Driver, yes, sir, I put it there after I killed the lady who owns his car and stuffed her in the trunk. Officer says, there's a body in the trunk? Driver says, yes, sir. Well, hearing this, the officer immediately called his captain. And the car was quickly surrounded by police, and the captain approached the driver, and the captain says, sir, can I see your license? The driver says, sure, here it is. And it was valid. Captain, whose car is this? Driver says, it's mine, officer. Here's the registration. Captain, could you slowly open your glove box so I can see if there's a gun in it? Driver says, yes, sir, but there's no gun in it. Sure enough, there was nothing in the glove box. Captain, would you mind opening your trunk? I was told there's a body in it. Driver, no problem. The trunk was opened, no body. Captain, I don't understand it. The officer who stopped you said you told him you didn't have a license, you stole the car, you had a gun in the glove box, and there was a dead body in the trunk. Driver, no kidding. And I bet he told you I was speeding too. Well, that story doesn't have a lot to do with today's sermon, but it was really funny. I wanted to tell you. But seriously, what makes this story, funny is that the driver was able, through a series of really outrageous lies, to completely discredit the integrity and authority of the police officer. And in a culture where authority is often seen as something to be fought for tooth and nail, the driver turns out to kind of be a hero. Well, today we're going to be looking at the 4th commandment. And I know, folks, over the weeks, some of the numbers don't always coincide, okay? But this is the Lutheran version, okay? The 4th commandment, we're going to be talking about honoring your father and your mother. And some of my slides last week, too, the numbers were off because it's hard to find, I so-called propaganda, okay, the match of commandments. So don't worry about the numbers, kids, okay? It's the 4th commandment, honor your father and your mother. And it's interesting to note that there's nothing in the 10 commandments about, like, respecting your elders. There's nothing about respecting political or civic leaders. There's nothing in the commandments about honoring, a president or a king or your boss. In fact, the 10 commandments don't even say respect God's authority. But they do tell us to honor our mother and our dads. Why does God tell us to honor our parents, but not all the other forms of legitimate authority? Because if children honor and respect their parents, then they usually show honor and respect to their teachers, to police officers, to their friends, their bosses, and so on. Tonight, the title of my sermon is Due Respect. And by showing due respect to our parents, to our children, to our friends, and the people around us, then we also show obedience to God's 4th commandment. So as always, my good friends, tonight Jimmy and I ask you to sit back, hopefully with the warmth of your home and with the fellowship of maybe family and friends. Let the Holy Spirit enter your hearts and minds, and we're going to worship our loving Lord and Savior tonight. So, starting out our service tonight, we're going to join in a word of unison prayer. And again, this prayer was written by our good friend Julie Garber. We thank you, God, for the gift of family. We thank you for loving parents and their guidance and care. Help us as families to respect and honor each other. We know we are imperfect in our ways of loving and living together. Teach us to see each other with your loving eyes and open hearts, Jesus. As we receive forgiveness from you, let us forgive the mistakes of others our friends and family. Grant us the grace to understand that respect and love go hand in hand when we follow your ways and hear your commandments. Help us to live knowing we are all children of a loving God. Amen. Our first praise song tonight is called Come Into His Presence.
Go ahead and clap if you feel like it. Or if you don't.
Thank you. That was awesome, Jimmy. Thank you.
Isn't that a fun song?
Yes, that is. Well, tonight our scripture lesson comes from Ephesians chapter 6. And if our faith in Christ is real, it usually proves itself at home in our relationships with our family and with our friends, okay? Ideally, Christian parents and children relate to each other with thoughtfulness and love. And this will happen if both parents and children and friends, put other interests above their own, if they submit to one another in love. So tonight, let's listen to Jimmy again read from Ephesians chapter 6, and it's where Moses is telling the Israelites about the fourth commandment.
Children, do what your parents tell you. This is only right. Honor your father and mother is the first commandment that has a promise attached to it, namely, so you will live well and a long life. Fathers, don't exasperate your children by coming down hard on them. Take them by the hand and lead them in the way of the Master. Here ends the reading.
On a cross-country flight, there was a rabbi and he was seated next to an atheist. I know it kind of sounds like the beginning of a bad joke, but I love this story. Every few minutes, one of the rabbi's children or grandchildren would come to his seat and see if he needed anything, food or drink or something to read. They'd just come and check up on him. And the atheist commented, "Boy, the respect your children and grandchildren show you is wonderful. Mine don't show me that kind of respect." "Think about it," the rabbi said. "To my children and grandchildren, I am one step closer to the God who created the Hebrews, the God who spoke to us at Sinai. To yours, you're merely one step closer to the apes." The story, in a not-so-subtle way, communicates to us an important message. Being the people of God has a profound impact on how we treat other people. especially the ones closest to us. You know, we hear, be nice to your kids, they're going to pick out your nursing home. Or one that reads, honor your father and your mother, they haven't made their will out yet. But the fourth commandment is unique for several reasons. It's one of only two positively stated commands. Last week we talked about the other, remember the Sabbath. The first four commandments address how human beings are to relate to God. And the last six address how human beings are to relate to each other. Just as the first commandment is a foundation for the other nine, so the fourth commandment serves as a basis kind of for the last six. Just as failure to honor God with allegiance keeps us from obeying the other commandments, so a failure to honor our parents results in an inability to honor any other human being, like our friends and our children. You know, my good friends, in other words, if you don't show respect and love to the families, then we don't show respect and honor and love also to our friends and our neighbors and our co-workers. Once again, I need you to kind of bring you up to speed on the audience to whom the words were being written to when Jim read for us today. You know, growing up, I was always taught that, you know, this commandment was addressed to children. Honor your mom and dad. Well, the little ones in the crowd at Sinai were to honor their fathers and mothers. And they were included in this as well as all the other people that were there. And Paul, as we heard Jimmy read this morning, applies this commandment to young people. But the command, as all the other commandments, were a personal direction and a personal way to grow for men and women also on the base of that mountain when they were hearing this from Moses. And I believe that there was really three reasons that this commandment was needed. First of all, okay, remember that the ones who were being addressed by God through Moses were just released from 400 years of slavery. They had lived in a culture that devalued age. As you got older, it was harder to work, and if you could not work, you were worthless. They lacked social structure that would provide for people in need. That's why there's so many commandments about how they were to provide for the poor and even strangers living in their land. There was no Social Security, no retirement plans. So older people had to rely on their children, and they could no longer care for themselves. But God knows that, you know, we're kind of selfish. And that's why the New Testament is filled with commandments to love one another, care for one another, give preference to one another, look out for the good of your friends and your family. It's the first commandment also that comes with a promise, as we heard in the reading. God says that those of us who honor our parents will have a long and healthy life. Now, I don't really believe there's some kind of magical connection between long life and a loving mom and dad. Because I know there's some scoundrels who have lived a long lives and know people who love their family, they die at an early age. That's not the promise. Guess where children learn to honor their parents? From their parents. And if an adult doesn't honor their parents, then they are teaching their children not to honor them. One of Grimm's fairy tales tells about a little boy who lived with his father, his mother, and his elderly grandfather. The grandfather was feeble and his hands shook all the time. And when he ate, the silverware rattled against the plate, and he often missed his mouth. Then the food would dribble down on the tablecloth. Well, this upset the young mother because she wanted to have to deal with the extra mess and hassle of taking care of the old guy. But he had nowhere else to live. So the young parents decided to move him away from the table in the corner, and he could sit on a stool and eat from a bowl. And the young mother said, from now on, you eat over in that corner. So he did, always looking at the table and wanting to be with his family, but he had to sit alone in the corner. And one day his hands trembled more than usual, and he dropped his bowl and he broke it. And the father replied, if you're going to eat like a pig, you're going to have to eat out of a pig's trough. So they made the old man a wooden trough, put his meals in it, and told him he had to eat out of it. Not long after that, the couple came upon their 4-year-old son playing out in a yard, and he had some scraps of wood. And his father asked him what he was doing. And the little boy looked up and smiled and said, I'm making a trough to feed you and Mom out of when I get big. Well, the next day, the old man was back at the table eating with the family from a plate. So this evening, we're going to look at 5 things that we got to do to be truly honor our parents. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is, we need to respect them. You need to respect your parents. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your mother and your father. Yeah, kids are to obey their parents. But honor and respect is more important than obedience. It's possible to obey without showing respect. You can do as you're told and still be, rebellious in your heart. It's like the little kid who was standing in the back of the car, not in his seat and is not strapped in with the seatbelt. And his parents, tell him to sit down and put the seatbelt on because they're concerned about his safety. Well, the father told him once, then twice, and the third time, and then the mother looked back, told him to sit down. He still said, no, I'm not going to sit down. And the dad said, if you don't sit down, I'm going to give you the spanking of your life. So the little guy sits down. Then he says to the dad, I may be sitting down on the outside, but I'm standing up on the inside. Well, that's obedience, but there's no respect there. We tend to honor people whom we think deserve it or earn it. We honor great athletes. We give them awards. We honor successful politicians. We honor successful people with plaques. But God says we are to honor our parents, not just because of what they have done, but simply because of who they are. For some of us, that's a hard pill to follow. You see, God didn't say to honor your parents if they're honorable. Nowhere does God say that respect must be earned before you give it. God simply calls us to honor our parents simply because they are parents. And nowhere in the commandment does it tell us that we are to honor them because they're great parents or even good parents. And again, in many instances, this is hard to do. The second thing is we need to value their advice. Another way we honor our parents by valuing their advice. There's not always an easy thing to do because some of us are at the stage in our life where we think, their parents, our parents, didn't know very much, especially sometimes in those teen years. I was that way. I didn't put a lot of worth into what my parents tried to tell me. But I learned something over the years. And not just because I had more education than mom and dad. That didn't mean in any way that I was smarter. There are some things that nobody learns except by living, having experience, and failing at some things and then bouncing back. Number 3 is let them know that you appreciate their efforts. One of the things about showing honor to a man and woman is responsible for bringing you into this world and feeding you and giving you all your basic food clothes, getting you to school, taking care when you were sick. Showing appreciation for what your parents did for you. God says honor your parents. It's the right thing to do. Even after children have grown up and families of their own, they still have a responsibility to honor their families. Now again, in the Bible, it doesn't say that parents are perfect. And our honoring of our parents isn't based on how much we approve of the job they did. God is saying that we should make our parents feel treasured simply because they have done so much for us. They cleaned our clothes, they made sure we got all the shots and the checkups. They gave us a home. And at birth, we solely depend upon adults for nurture. The moment we came into this world, our parents kept us warm, they fed us, protected us. So we should be grateful. Also think of the financial burden that parents bear. We owe our parents a huge debt of gratitude. They deserve our honor for the simple reason that they have done so much for us. I have no doubt at all that what has helped me more than anything else to honor my parents is also that I'm a parent myself. And I know it's the hardest job I've ever had. It's difficult, it's costly, not just terms in finances, but also in terms of energy, emotions, and our time. If we can honor our parents for nothing else, we can honor them because they took on a difficult job. I'd encourage you to let your parents know that you appreciate them for what they've done for you, no matter how old you are. Number 4 is help to meet the needs of your parents. Honoring of your parents involves providing for them when they no longer can provide for themselves. Paul used the word repay in the verses that Jimmy read for us. I've made mention of the many sacrifices our parents have made to take care of us. How can we ever begin to repay our parents for their time, their money, and their love? Part of that answer comes in meeting their physical needs. Just as parents spend 20 years or so providing for the needs of their kids, then these kids should try also to take care of their parents maybe when the money isn't there or when they need the physical and emotional care. Jesus made it clear that the honor of parents includes financial support for them. You know, God always intended for the family to be the chief agency by which the needs of the individuals are met. And simply providing financial support for one's parents in their old age falls short of honor unless it's done with love, with a loving personal involvement. A child can no more honor his parents by simply paying their bills than his parents could have responsibly raised him by only paying for his food. You need that loving care and that loving environment. Parents need to feel that they are not an imposition in the lives of their kids, and they have a place where somebody remembers them, cares about them, takes time out of a busy day even to just give them a call. And number 5 is forgive their failings. We're going to end today with this because some of you here this evening are in real pain and maybe anger, and maybe a little bit both, because you were deeply hurt by your parents. No doubt there's times in your life when it seemed that your parents did not put their best interest first. You figured out maybe they weren't loving enough, they spent too much time at work, not enough time for you. And I want you to understand tonight that God is not saying here, just get over it, ignore the pain, deny it ever happened. But God is asking us to show some forgiveness, just like God forgives us. In doing so, you can truly honor your parents in the years ahead. Maybe for some of you, your parents have passed away and you're not able to speak with them. In this case, I can encourage you to pray. Pray that you will not allow bitterness to control your life, that you have a spirit of forgiveness towards those who hurt you, and you don't continue that cycle of pain by inflicting on your children what you had to suffer through. And again, I encourage you to pray that your pain will draw you closer to God. So in conclusion today, I want you to see that this commandment of honoring your father and your mother is so special that it has a promise attached to it. What is that promise? That your days will be long upon the land which your Lord God is giving to you. You know, some of you here this evening don't have parents with you any longer. And I hope you don't look back and say, you know, with regret, you know, I never told my father how much I love him. And as many times as I was in their house, my parents' house, and ate my mom's delicious cookies, and received their unfailing love, I never told my mom how much I loved her. If you still have parents but have been reluctant, embarrassed, or maybe just forgot, don't make the mistake so many others have lived to regret. Spend time with mom and dad. Drop them a note or just call them to let them know you are thinking about them. Respect, honor. 2 words that go a long way with our parents, with our kids, and with our friends. Use them towards your parents, and God will use them towards you. And this, my friends, is truly the word of the Lord for today. Amen. closing today, I want to say one last word, but it's more kind of a challenge, really. It's to those of us who are parents. Be honorable. Even though our honor isn't based on our worthiness, we still need to live a life that makes it easy for our friends and our children to honor us. We are to be teachers of what is good and right. And we're to model for our children and our friends God's values, God's integrity, God's unconditional love. If we take our role as God's authority in the home seriously, then we have reason to hope that when our children leave our home, they will always choose to act justly and to love mercifully and to walk humbly with their God. The principle at the heart of the fourth commandment is this: respect and honor. It's a rather somber fact of life that neither children nor parents are around very long. Someday, those children won't be in your home. Someday, those parents will be gone as well. Life is too short, and the price is too high to put off honoring for one another. Go now and value your family and friends and make them a priority. And go in peace. Amen.
God be with you till we meet again. Thy good counsels guide uphold you. With the shepherd's care unfold you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again. Holy wings securely hide you. Daily manna still provide you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again. When life's perils may confound you, good unfailing arms around you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Encounter Hope tonight. Hope you have a great week, and we thank you for our viewers all over the United States and also again in Ghana, Africa. Jimmy, you have a wonderful night tonight. God bless you. Thanks for the great music. Thank you, team, for singing, Jody recording. See you next week, Thursday night, when we'll be talking about Thou Shalt Not Kill.
We'll be here.
Good night, everybody.